The new trailer for Ghost of Yōtei is here, and in 3 minutes, Sucker Punch has managed to tease a ton of cool new details from Japanese history. Placed 300 years after the story of Jin, Ghost of Yōtei takes us to a time of turmoil in the Hokkaido region, which was known as Etsu in 1603, and not really considered a part of Japan. A perfect destination for fleeing Ronin and Wokou, who were escaping the newly appointed Tokugawa shogunate.
Every Ronin here is after you.
I've been poring over the details within, translating the text and brushing up on Japanese history, the Matsumae clan, and learning all about the indigenous people called Ainu to talk with you about why I'm incredibly hyped for Ghost of Yōtei.
We are beyond the edge of Japan.
Let's talk about that opening quote, as knowing a bit of history helps set the stage as to why it's important. In 1600, there was a well-known battle of Sekigahara that was fought and won by Tokugawa Ieyasu. He would quickly hunt down and execute the few remaining enemies after this victory, and by 1603, clans like the Takeda clan, who may have their crests or one like it represented in the trailer, would have either joined Tokugawa or been left to their own fate. In March of 1603, Ieyasu was made shogun, and guess which region was deemed important around that time? That's right, Ezo. Which would explain this scene of Ronin and pirates trying to burn down what appears to be a Tokugawa building. But in addition to that turmoil, the Matsumae clan was defending the southern region of Ezo from the Ainu. Because Ezo wasn't really considered a part of Japan and the Ainu inhabited this space, there was some friction between the two factions. That tension would come to a head when the Ainu and Matsumae faced off in 1669 during the revolt of Shakushin over control of the land, but in 1603 it was just getting started. The Matsumae clan established a base on Etsu near the southern edge of the island and would eventually build the Matsumae Castle in 1606. Etsu was seen as an important point of defense from Russia, but it wasn't until the castle was built that trade was more well established with the Ainu in 1606. Also, a fun fact, Mount Yotei is referred to as the female mountain by the Ainu people, but let's not forget about the nearby Mount Shirobetsu, known as the male mountain, as I believe it's teased as a location a bit earlier in this trailer. So how does our new protagonist Atsu fit in all of this? Well, there's a lot of iconography in the trailer of wolves, which is interesting because the now extinct Etsu wolf and the Etsu Okami are known as a god who had the power to dispel evil. Tying in nicely with the setting of Yotei, they also symbolize mountain worship, which would blend in nicely with the selected setting. Atsu also has wolf iconography on her hilt, which makes me wonder if she has ties to the Ainu, given their belief that many animals were gods roaming the earth, and the wolf god is particularly important in Ainu culture. The Ainu, who I've mentioned a few times, loved animals, but had some ceremonies that would be seen as somewhat violent by modern standards. For example, the Ainu believed bears were just gods waiting to be set free, so they would take bear cubs, raise them like they were their own children until they were about 2 years old, and then sacrifice them and drink their blood in a ritual they believed sent the god back to where they came from. And I did find it interesting that Atsu had what appears to be a bearskin cloak for warmth. While this may not have been from the ritual, it could have been traded or acquired from the Ainu in some other manner. Sucker Punch has teased an upcoming video about other animals we can expect in Ghost of Yōtei, so I'd love to hear more about the blood sacrifice, or maybe the owls of Etsu, which would be a bit more my speed. But beyond the bear cloak, Atsu also has several interesting traits that could paint her as having a Japanese background. Beside her stances, weapons, and attire, which we'll discuss in a moment, her instrument, the Sugaro shamisen, is an interesting choice. The shamisen was popular in the pleasure districts, highbrow theater, and even with folk music of Japan, which had led some fans to wonder if Atsu might use subterfuge as, say, a geisha in Yotei. The well-kept nails also lent to that particular theory, as they looked pretty nice for a roaming Ronin who's just committed a somewhat brutal murder. Regardless, the shamisen was an interesting choice, and while it has been depicted as a weapon in some Japanese cinema, chances are it'll instead act as a replacement for Jin's shakuhachi. Japanese attire included a ghost mask that had been repaired with a technique known as kintsugi. Kintsugi is the practice of fixing a break using a lacquer mixed with gold, and it was a very popular repair method of the time. The gold repair hints at the history of the item and was seen as beautiful by collectors as it hinted at a past. All this makes me wonder what story the mask is telling, or hiding.
People come north to disappear. But you are hunting.
And that question leaves us wondering how Atsu became a wandering Onimusha warrior, which were basically the female version of a Ronin. Of course, there have been many well-documented Onimusha throughout history because it was somewhat common to train women to defend their homes and children during times of unrest. Tomei Gozen, one of the most feared Onimusha warriors of all time, has been well documented, and while she is more of a legend whose authenticity is debated, there are still plenty of documents about women going to battle in feudal Japan. But for this time period, Yodo Dono stood out to me as she has often been portrayed as against the Tokugawa shogunate. Yodo Dono was a concubine for Toyotomi Hideyoshi and gave him children. When Hideyoshi died in 1598, she was very powerful as the mother of Hideyoshi's children. It is said that she resisted the Tokugawa shogunate until she met her end in Osaka with her son. She's an interesting character of the time period who can make good inspiration for Atsu and has been portrayed many times in Japanese films, but I digress. The bigger question for Atsu is, why is she wanted? The sign we see in the trailer reads, Wanted List. We have 100 Ryo rewards for this woman's head. There are rumors that she was witnessed at Mount Yotei, 28 or 29 years old. Ryo isn't the modern currency for Japan, but let's just say that's a large bounty, per our friends at IGN Japan. Why does she have a list of names on her waist? The list reads Demon, Fox, Dragon, Spider, Snake, and what looks like the family name Saito. Snake is crossed off with blood near the end of the trailer, but who sent her, or why is she on this quest?
Still think you're the hunter?
Is the final quote we hear before Atsu defeats her enemy, and it leaves me wondering, where did she get those toys? Atsu uses the Nitanichi, or two-sword style, Miyamoto Musashi popularized and roughly translates to two heavens as one. In one hand, we think she has a katana with a wakizashi in another. She also uses an arquebus, or Tanegashima rifle, with a serpentine matchlock. She is shown with a kusari gama twirling around the chain. Other weapons, like the Odachi teaser, indicate there will be even more to master in Ghost of Yōtei. For today, the history, turmoil, and drama surrounding Etsu, the Ainu, and the Tokugawa shogunate has me hyped for Ghost of Yōtei. Let's see what you've got, Sucker Punch.